and welcome to Gender Space, a program where we engage in meaningful conversations about gender equality, rights, and empowerment. Today, we turn our attention to a critical issue of women's economic empowerment in the informal economy. Across South Africa, thousands of women earn a living through informal trading, selling fresh produce in markets, running home-based businesses, or navigating the world of digital entrepreneurship. But despite their vital role in the economy, many of them face systemic challenges, from financial exclusion to restrictive regulations. So how can we create a more supportive environment for women in the informal sector? That's what we are discussing today. My name is Twasa. This is Gender Space, proudly brought to you by the Commission for Gender Equality. Stay tuned. For many women, informal work is not just a job, it's a means of survival. Whether selling in markets, running small businesses from home, or operating online, they encounter significant challenges, from bylaws that impact street vendors to difficulties in accessing finance. Today, we will explore the everyday challenges women in the informal economy face, as well as the resources in place to assist them. If you want to join in this conversation, you can do so using #GenderSpace. We are also available on our online platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn as Commission for Gender Equality. We are there on X @CGE_ZA, as well as on Instagram @CGE Live. Our crew visited the streets of Johannesburg and spoke to some women about challenges they face. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Ama-challenges engihlangana nawo lana uthola ukuthi mhlawumbe akuthengwanga angithenze ngoba kunesikhathi sokuthi kube busy kungabi busy.
Abantu bayafika sometimes badelele o bafuna amathishu mahala.
Isimo sebusiness sona ekuqaleni besisihle kakhulu, kodwa kwamanje siya ngokwehla sento sanzima labantwana sakwazi ukubafundisa kahle.
Kwesinye isikhathi becomplain ngendawo ukuthi ayikho clean ngisho noma i-clean ngoba iyacleanwa everyday emini ntambama nje hleze kucleanwa la hleze kuclean.
There are so many challenges, like on how to start a business. It is a big challenge because you'll be facing that thing of how to get the capital.
To help us unpack today's topic, we are joined by Commissioner Mulalo Nemataheni and Kutso Munyepao from the Commission for Gender Equality. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it. What unique challenges do women face in the informal economy?
Okay. Ke a leboga question Twasa. Commission for Gender Equality mo tsamaong ya yona ya go dira moshomo wa yona le taelo ye re fileng ke molaotheo wa rena wa naga ya Afrika Borwa. Re dirile an anecdotal research le provincial investigation. Re lebeletse yona taba ye ya borakgwebo potlana ba ba sa ingwadišang ka gare ga Gauteng. So re kry-ile le gore ditlhotlo tše ba di tšweletšang ge re bolela le bona ya mathomo e be gore di-bylaws melawana e šomišwang ke masepala gore e re regulate gantši go na le gore e re thuše e re godiše e ka re ya re tlhekefetša. Sa mathomo re tshwanetse re kry-e di-permits eno ba tumelelo ya gore go rekiša mo o fiwe sebaka o kry protection nako tše dingwe o kgona le go kry-a sebaka sa gore ba go bontšha gore wena o dula mo ebile o kry-a le stall sa gore o rekišetša mo, and then dinako ke tše then o patela a certain fee. Ka nako nngwe re kry-a bothata ba go di humana. Ge re sa di humana then re no try go rekiša ka gore go rekiša mo go tliša borotho ka malapeng a rena, re kgona go iša bana dikolong. Mara ge re sa kgone go rekiša ka lebaka la go tlhoka permit, then ba tla ba tlo tšea dithuto tšela tša rena. Whether o rekiša merogo o rekiša dienywa ba tšea dithuto tšela ba di iša holding room ba tlo re o tlo di tšee ka tšhelete e itšeng. Ba re bjaleng ba tšea thuto ya ka ya 500 rand, mara ge ke tshwantse ke itšee ba re fine ya gona ke 1.5. Bjale ke go thoma go iputša gore ke tshwantse ke e late goba ke dio ile sa ke reke dithuto tše tharo ka gore stoko se lebe se dia 500. Ya bobedi ke gore tsona di-infrastructure tse re bolelang ka tsona bo stolo dintlwana tsa go tshwela mare, those are ablution facilities a di gona ka re ba mo direnkeng di-toilet a di go metse yago safety a e go o mongwe o rile ke fitlha mo forogo ka 4 ka gore ke rekiša magwenya swantse ke fitlha mo ke setape mollo ke dube ke dieng ke apeye safety a e be gona ka nako eo maphodisa a gona maphodisa re a bona ga e tlo tšea dithoto tša rena masepala a o re tlhokomele re a tseba re gone ka mogo swantšeng gore ba re godiše ba re empower ka gona through local economic development frameworks tša bona mara re ba bone so e ba taba ya go se kry di-permit ya ba taba ya di-bylaws tše di-restrictive ya ba infrastructure ya ba lack of financial support so those are the challenges that they've actually highlighted ge re be re bereka le bona.
Kutso, you just spoke about, the inequalities and access to funding and finance. And I just want to throw that at you to say, are financial services and loans accessible to women in informal businesses? Considering you referred to COVID. During COVID, if you are not a registered business, it was very difficult to get any kind of assistance. What happens now? If they're not there, what are the barriers?
Thank you for that question. This also speaks to some of the challenges that women face, just to continue where she left off, talking about issues of financial exclusion, where we are talking about the inability of women to access financial services such as banking, loans, and also insurance. So some of the barriers that make it impossible for women in the informal economy to access this is because of the lengthy application process or the documents that are required when one is applying for that funding for their business, because they would need a business to be registered. And the setting of an informal economy is that the business is usually not registered. And sometimes the interest rates as well that are being offered are quite high, so making it impossible or making it a less attractive option for people to go to in order to grow their businesses.
Hey, it had somebody will ask about, so how do we measure risk? How do we, and we'll start talking about that. I suppose it's really a challenge for everybody to start thinking innovatively and about how inclusion will work. So you refer to safety concerns, especially when women are working as street vendors. Do you care to elaborate a little bit around that? Because at 4 in the morning, it's still quite at night, if I think about it. Can you just elaborate on that?
Okay. Safety concerns ranges from gender-based violence, mo ile gore go fitla ka 4 or ebile go tloga ka gago in the morning we ya moshomong, you're going to catch a taxi. Already safety issues di thoma mo. And then oba matlhatse go ka tsena ka ga taxi o ya khona go fitisha to mo berekelang gona motlhomongwe ke renkeng. Go le mola renkeng, we all know gore renkeng go robala le batho ba le ba go tlhoka mo ba dulang. So namile safety issues di tswela gana mo. And then yengwe ya ba safety ya di thuto tsa bona. Ba khona gore ba beile stock sa bona. The following morning ga ba fitha ba kry le gore a se go robilwe go tswere everything. Yengwe ya di safety e tswelela ge go enforciwa di bylaws tse gore the manner in which our officers ba enforce these bylaws go ta in the form of harassment and even victimization. O mongwe ba re ena go tshwane ke khona go rekisha mo re le basadi, on the other side ile monna. When it goes to monna e ka re gona le some negotiation e diriwang le wena wa tseba gore ona permit mara ge eta ka mo tlhakong re le lengwe a gona negotiation because e ka re o mongwe gender ye nngwe e tlhomphiwa go feta ye nngwe. So ba le ba boledishana go sasa go skata tsama officing o dira permit, but with us go tšiwa o mongwe bilare o mongwe o dire go kamfa ba re o rekisha di weave and all that go kampa weave today o tla ba free, something like that. So e ba more exploitative than go ka ba rotloetsa gore ba die ba gole ka mogare re kgwebo tša bona. So safety ya gona ke yona ni ya gore whether safety ya ka and human dignity ya ka bele ka motho ba safety ya di products tše ke di rekishang. and ninako ba chesha lata ba bangwe o kry motho a tsomile ka 4 and then a tsamaya maybe after 7 are ke emetse the last batch ya babereki ba go tswa ka 6 ke bona ba go reka kudu or business peak from 4 ba chaisha to 6 so ke tsamaya lata so namile safety ke yona ya ne ya gore as a person I'm not safe le dilo tse ke di rekisha di safe.
Hey, o ka ta bua ka ntwe nngwe ya hore tsela eo basadi le banna ba tshwarwang ka teng ha e tshwane ho ya ka hore na o mosadi kapa o monna na. Re hle re kena ho yona eno just to continue on that trajectory. Childcare responsibilities, how do they impact basadi be leng hore they are in this informal economy and on the businesses that they are trying to establish and grow?
When it comes to child care responsibility and also domestic work, those are the things that society has put upon women. So women are bound to do those work when they are at home, and then they still have to split themselves the time, the energy that they use at home. They still have to have energy when they run their businesses. So it makes it difficult for women to be fully there, because imagine if you are there selling your produce and then your child is not feeling well and you are the only person that is there to take that child to go and see a health professional. So it's important that that type of work gets measured, and also we do something in that sector so that women can fully commit to their businesses and also be able to raise their hands in spaces where there are opportunities that come through, because opportunities do come up. But when you think about who's going to take care of my kids, who's going to make sure that my house is in order, you let go of those opportunities. You can't take the whole week to go attend a training when you know that your home needs you.
Ke a batho ba ngata ka nnete ba utlwa ditaba tsena mme di a ba ama ka tsela efe kapa efe. So clearly, women in the informal sector face a lot of barriers. When we come back, we will look at what support systems exist to help them. Jwale he, ska ba fetwa, stay tuned. Welcome back to Gender Space, brought to you by the Commission for Gender Equality. Today, we are talking about women's economic empowerment in the informal economy. Before the break, we found out about some of the unique challenges faced by women in the informal economy. Now, we move on to look at the support systems that exist for women in this economy. Many government and non-government organizations claim to support women in this informal economy. But is this support reaching those who need it the most? We explore the role of cooperatives, small business funding, and mentorship programs in empowering women traders. But first, let's take a look at some of the support women traders need.
Masithola isupport sabantu bawomama ngoba egcineni ugcina ubona izingane ziphenduka amaphara la emgaqweni ngenxa ukuthi ama support abawatholi asiwatholi imisebenzi ayikho.
Uma khona ongangisponsor ngemali ngithole noma iumbrella like makunetha noma ilanga lishisa kakhulu ngoba lezi zinto ngivale ngisho nangebox ngivalela ilanga ukuthi zingashi lezi zinto lezi.
Uhulumeni mengasiza nje kakhulukazi la ema toilet yazama ukuthi sithole isupport njengama pint gel, njengama domestos, ama tissue, sithole mhlambe abangakhona ukuthi besisize ngakho ngoba kunzima la.
Ukusupport abantu besimami njengami kanje ngoba ngisebenzele thina suka sibe singomama sihlangana nenkinga eziningi. Angithi aba siyabe sinengane zinobaba kodwa bengazisupport. Thina ke sesiqina ke ngalapho ukuthi ngahlanganisa ini ngihlanganise ini ngiyawazi ukuthi injani ngisupport ingane ihambe esikolweni ifunde nayo.
We open the job opportunities for other people. Yes, like as women, we are so caring and loving.
Ma mntanami ngathola nje uncedo noma ongasiza ukuthi ngikhuphule nje business. Njengoba uyalibona nje izinto asaphelelanga. Yade ngizithengisa. Sengithengisa khona lokho engikwanisa ukustokha ngemali nje encane ngoba angisela lutho ngivule kakhulu.
I still have my guests, and we are going on with the conversation. Bomme, what government and private sector programs exist to support women in the informal economy?
Bulela niti yeri krillium from the traders charana. Support yabana ya tlhaka. Out of the 15 traders that we interviewed, one of them expressed or ka lebaka la gore ke na le permit ke rile ka fiwa funding ya Tshwane e ka re worth 7,000 for me to get my equipments and other things because mmereko wa ka ke go rekiša dijo go di apea home cooked hot food ke rekišetša batho. And then when it comes to skills development, I had to pay 500 to get a certificate of occupational health and safety because there are regulations surrounding that. So, and I was surprised to say, why pay? Because I'm thinking those are the kind of skills development programs that should be coming from the municipality. So I cannot take that as support if you had to pay for yourself. But then out of the 15, only one expressed that she was supported but others, they were not supported.
Is there an awareness around business development programs and funding opportunities for women in the informal sector?
Most women that are operating in the informal sector do not know that there is support that is available. And this is because sometimes these opportunities in the trainings are then communicated in social media platforms. And even the government departments, they now post about these trainings on social media platforms. And the women that are in the informal economy, they do not have access to those spaces. And another thing, when it comes to these trainings, sometimes it needs time for people to go and attend these particular trainings. And it will be best for people to come and say, what do you need? And also come to where they are trading so that it's easier for them to also ensure that there's continuity in their business. Because when you talk about informal economy, most of the time, the person that is owning the business is the one that is operating it on a day-to-day basis.
Formations like cooperatives, we hear this word a lot. It's panned a lot and it's encouraged. Do they play a role in helping women to grow their businesses? Is it a model that is working, especially in the South African environment?
For informal economy, it's something that still needs to be done. For now, there's no model that is actually aimed at empowering them. So it's like survival of the fittest. I do what I can for the survival of my family. And then without anyone, like I will even say, you go there, you impound. But did you ever say to them, this is a bylaw. This is what it means by this bylaw. This is what infringement is. If you do this and follow this process to get a permit, you will not find yourself in this red area. But it's just impounding. So that awareness, that entrepreneurial development, that skills development is still something that is lacking and is needed by these people. So that because at times they don't even understand why they are taking those goods. One will ask, is because of the permit. One will ask, is because I'm not from South Africa. So they are not even sure whether it's because we are violating a bylaw or it's because we are from another country trying to survive in South Africa. So there is that misunderstanding when it comes to how, and we believe any law that is there should have a developmental approach in it. Then later when you deviate from what the law is expecting of you, then you get arrested, then your goods are getting impounded. But if you don't know, then it becomes an issue.
I'm glad that we are having this conversation because it's an eye-opener. Now, how accessible are microloans and grants for women-owned informal businesses?
When it comes to grants and microloans, it becomes difficult because regulatory or compliance will tell you that if you want to access a loan in a formal financial institution, you will need to have your business registered. You must have credit history. And in some cases, they say we also want collateral, which are things that most women do not have access to. So it makes it difficult for them to access this. And some of the ways that this women try to make things work for themselves is to use stokvels as some of the avenues that they can ensure that they're able to give each other that loan that one might need to get that boost within their business. So in terms of what is available or what organizations and the government are saying they're providing, it becomes difficult for the women to be able to access those.
Now, let's go to the training programs that exist, but maybe let's start with the policy changes that are needed to provide better support for women in the informal economy.
The Constitution is clear on Section 22. It grants citizens the rights to freedom of trade, profession, and even occupation. So this informal economy or informal trading then becomes the choice of trade that a particular person has made, looking at the circumstances surrounding the socioeconomic development. So when it goes down to legislation, most legislation will be more vocal about the formal economy, where you have to have your CK and other things, and then that also is accompanied by support or the financial resources. So with them, there is no specific legislation that is, they actually are not covered by any legislation. Even the labor law legislation doesn't cover them. I know that the Gauteng Department of Economic Development has come with a Gauteng Township Economy Development Act, but still, Leona nyaka gore o be o le registered. Leona nyaka gore ge le rona le spaza shop se be se le registered. So ba feletse le gore bona they are on their own. They are being marginalized over and over again, and then they miss out on a lot of opportunities that exist within government and private sector.
Yeah. What's about you spoke about the gap here training when it comes to laws, that you wish there was the developmental part of it before there's the enforcement part of it. But can we also speak to the fact that a lot of women that get into these spaces is because normally there's nowhere else to go? Are there training programs that exist to help women to build and scale their businesses?
I say maybe no way nearly SIDA, Small Enterprise Development Agency, no said or something. There's a combination of some sort. We've invited them as when we were busy with our provincial investigation on this issue. We invited various stakeholders to say, let's come into one room and talk about these issues, because they affect us, whether it's commission, whether it's a department, or whether it's an NGO. Let's come together and see what we can do. So SIDA expressed that they are offering trainings to informal traders on so many days. They explained the kind of training they offer. But now, like the commissioner was saying, it's between, do I leave my bread for today and go spend 7 hours trading, and tomorrow my child wants bread to go to school? So then you end up weighing the options to say, it's better for me to sell so that I can have something to take home. I understand I need this training, but the timing, I don't know if maybe there should be something like we can do this training later, where you actually had or managed to get your income for the day, because now it's a matter of, I don't even want to get sick, because if I get sick, it means there's no bread for my children. So they then tend to weigh what is a need, what is a want. So then training then becomes a want, then the income then is. So those are the challenges. So they are having what we call is the poverty of time.
Yeah.
So we need this, all these things, we need them, but
the constraints. Fella here, we are talking about them, and this is shedding light and giving us food for thought. After the break, we take a look at policy interventions that could create real change for women in the informal economy. Don't go anywhere. Many times we've heard and seen informal vendors being harassed by law enforcement agencies, confiscating their goods or displacing them. Why does this happen? What does the law and national policy say?
Anginalo ulwazi ngisapoti ka government.
Umasipala since silokhu saqhumana naye la asasuthola ugesi.
Nalo metro sihlukumezayo lana ukuthi mhlawumbe ungathi maungasidwebela ke nana sikwazi ukubhadara nathi.
Uyabona la itendelele engimikilo ngizikhandele lona. Kwakunestand esasizikhandele ngumasipala. So zasuswa ukuthi zasuswa ngendlela abani lathi kasikwazi, kodwa ama committee wangachaza kahle. Manje sizithengela insimbi uyenze njengoba kunje.
Ama-challenges esihlangane nawo lana ma ususwa umetro uthola ukuthi ngiyabaleka lana into zami ziyachitheka bayanyathela abadlulayo okanye ma beyithatha sengiluzile kanjalo so kufanele ngifune enye imali ukuthi ngiqale ngenze ngistoki ngikhanza ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi laleyo mali anginayo.
Usually the government people, they usually visit our businesses. Yes, they want to work with us. According to how they speak with us, they usually establish this thing of working together. Yes, they want a certain percentage.
Ma ukuthi bafuna sibhadale basitshele basidwebele sikwazi ukukhokha than kube sisebenza sibaleka.
Earlier on, we spoke about Section 22 of the Constitution, which gives every citizen a right when it comes to trade, occupation, and profession. And with that said, there's also the Business Act and also the bylaws, because it's not just to say there is a right. We also need to provide support and also develop and implement that system in place so that people can be able to trade informally. So with those things, people are then said they must get permits in order to be able to trade, and they must also make sure that when they are trading, they must not block pedestrians when they are passing through the streets. And then there's also demarcated spaces where these people need to be able to do their trade. So those are some of the laws that exist and the policies that speaks to how do we make this as easy as possible for our people to be able to trade.
So what rights do vendors have in those situations?
When the Constitution guarantees you the right to trade, we actually expect government institutions, including municipality, to be supportive of that very right and to ensure that they protect that very right. But when we see harassment, when we see confiscation that is not consistent, like and all that, so then we get to be concerned. And if I want to highlight an incident where we were doing these interviews, we also got impounded as the commission. Yeah, because and then no, not siyasebenza. As government entities, we have to coexist. You're doing your work. I'm also no, like we were like situnyilwe to disturb them, and we had to make a very formal complaint to. You're doing your work as Metro. We are doing our work as Chapter 9 of monitoring, of doing whatever. So we have to coexist one way or another. So if you can impound me like the veggies, then it's problematic to someone who is a trader. So those kind of things. So, and harassment is a criminal offense. So I don't believe that the bylaws were there created to perpetuate a certain violence. But the way they are being used, the inconsistency in application of those bylaws, they are like, harassment is the only way to implement it. The harassment is the only way to enforce it. So hence I'm saying, if someone is made aware of a certain bylaw or a certain rule, even when you come, that person will even say, I am guilty. Yeah. Therefore, let's talk about how do I pay a fine if there is. But if they don't understand, then it then becomes difficult. Hence, we're saying each law should have a developmental approach in it before they can even fine or even sanction those people.
Hey, yeah, it's really unbelievable that even you experienced this.
You have to show your card from this.
I mean, people who are trying to build lives for themselves are well-meaning. And I think if we just assume that people are well-meaning, we will do better in how we treat people. And now, talking about this, a lot of South Africans want to abide by the law. In your view, what changes need to be made to accessing permits for informal traders?
When we are thinking about making changes, it is important to also speak to the people that those changes would affect. So we must make it more accessible. Even the cost as well to get the permit would need to be looked at so that it's easier for people to say, I want to do this, and then they don't have any barriers to be able to to then continue with what they choose to trade on. So I would say the first change that would need to be made is to consult the people that need to be consulted, because at the end of the day, when you come and say you are implementing, you need to implement something that people understand, and then they will also party to the development of the changes that we want to make. So it's important that we go to them, find out what is their needs and what do we need as government, and how can we meet each other halfway so that it's easier even for them to say to a new person that is wanting to start in the informal economy, to say you must be aware of 1, 2, 3, because they are also aware.
You would like to add to that?
Yes. During our hearing with the city of Tshwane, we said to them, can we please get procedure or a system that is in place guiding the traders on how to attain a permit, all the processes, all the steps that are there, so that it becomes easy for them, and perhaps translated in various languages, because the people within this sector, you will find yourself with someone with no school, grade R, grade 1. Few of them will say, I have grade 12. So we said, if the policies or the systems are still in English, then and yet you have people that cannot go out there and educate them, then we're having a barrier.
Sure.
A language barrier that will create lack of information. And again, we said, can you give us a procedure of impounding or confiscating these goods, so that we can monitor you against your own procedure? And that was not coming through, to say, we want to understand, or is your procedure having, you first harass, you destroy these things.
Yes.
We wanted to see that, but that didn't come. But they were open to say, we understand that our bylaw that regulates informal traders is older. I think it's pre-1994 kind of a bylaw. So we are now in a process of ensuring that we review this bylaw, and we would like also maybe the CGE to pay to also play that oversight when we review this thing. And we actually reiterated to say the target group of this particular bylaw should be consulted fully, even if it means you standing in front of a stall for that consultation to happen. Let it be, so that they will understand what's coming their way. They will have input to this policy, because a policy without public participation, then we are talking to yourselves. Because when you look at a bylaw, you'll find most of the time, do not. It's very hard to find it saying this is what it's regulating and this is how you get it. You'll find do not. So it's like a sanction on its own.
Yeah.
So
what must I do?
Yeah, and one lady was saying, you know what, they gave me a ticket and something, and then I was like, let me see. The ticket was for a car. Do you have a car? No. Are you a car? No. So now why the sanction for informal trading has to be written on a card? So then it's such a mess. Hence we wanted the system and the procedure of impounding, because now you're like, it's like you're parking on the yellow lane. That's why you're having this. There's so much confusion.
Now, I'm concerned. We are commended for having some of the best laws in the world as a country. Now, let's look at the labor laws. How do they apply to women working in, especially in the informal economy, looking at domestic or home-based businesses?
When it comes to labor law, most of the things that we take for granted when we're working in the formal economy do not exist in the informal economy. Because we can look at the condition where people operate and do their trade. No one is looking at that. And then when you ask for the basics of the basic things, like ablution blocks, you find people saying that those are problems that exist throughout the country. But we're just saying, yes, it exists throughout the country, but let's prioritize these women because they are working. This is their place of work. So the conditions needs to be up to par. And then secondly, the benefits that people do get. When you are operating in an informal economy, you do not have those benefits. You do not take leave, because if you take leave, your business is also on leave. And also, when you talk about bonuses, things that people fight for some people, it's things that they do not even have. So when we look at the informal economy, it's one of those things where those laws do not exist, which is why I said earlier on that we need to craft what is in line with what the people that are in the economy needs.
Sure. In terms of our achievement as a country, we have much to teach, but I think we can also learn from our peers. What can South Africa learn from other countries in terms of policies supporting women in informal work?
When it comes to looking at other countries, it's a matter of saying, how do we integrate women and bring them to the table? Because sometimes these decisions are made in rooms where a woman could say, these are the challenges that we face. So it's important that we integrate and bring people to the table. And bringing it to what we're talking about in the informal economy, it is important that we also say to the women that are affected, what do you need?
Harababutseng, policy plays a huge role in either enabling or restricting women's economic empowerment. But beyond policy, there's a broader conversation to be had. How does empowering women in the informal sector benefit society as a whole? Stay tuned. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back to Gender Space. In today's episode, we've been discussing women's economic empowerment in the informal sector. You can catch the repeat of this episode tomorrow at 1 p.m. as well as on Thursday at 6 p.m. right here on Dumisa TV, channel 340. Remember to keep the conversation going on our social media platforms. On Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn as Commission for Gender Equality. And on X, we are at CGE_ZA as well as on Instagram at CGE Live. Now, when women thrive economically, entire communities benefit. Studies have shown that when women have financial stability, they reinvest in their families, boost local economies, and create employment opportunities. So how can we shift the conversation from survival to growth? This is what we are dealing with now. To my guest, how can municipalities create safer and more accessible trading environments for women?
Firstly, we even thought maybe we should have a model. A model that's gonna actually give us guidelines on how best to develop this sector. Starting from your policy, starting from development, entrepreneurial skills, and them being part of the value chain. I'm saying this because one lady said to me, I bought these other veggies, but these two, one of them was spinach, if I remember. I grew it from the backyard. So you can identify already that this person, given a chance and an opportunity, he can be able to plant everything that she needs, and whatever she sells on this market is something that is actually produced by the very same person. They will even tell you, when I get to a fresh produce market, I didn't buy potatoes. Why? They didn't look that fresh. So they even know their preferences, they even know their grades. So if that person is given a chance to grow them, she will make sure that the grades are of that level that are going to be attractive to whoever is buying them. So you feel they can contribute to a value chain. And you think of the ones that are selling live chicken and eggs. You think when you listen to them, you understand that if there is a chance to say, we are giving you chiclets, we are giving you feeds, grow this at the 20 days or 30 days, they are good to be sold. That value chain will be sustainable. There will be more sustainability rather than dependency. So, and we have to acknowledge that even though their businesses are informal, they are alleviating the burden from government. They are not going there to look to say, government, give us money to feed ourselves or to do whatever. They are alleviating that pressure from our government. So the more we develop them, the more we enhance their growth, is the more even other people will say, this person started as a food stall person selling food, but today she's even having this value chain of a business. We want to do like her. Please mentor us. So we just have to be broad in our approach, even with the policies that we actually develop, to say we don't want to see them as sitting in the store. We want them to sell what they have produced. We want them to grow their own chickens. We want them to grow their own pigs so that they can even produce or even sell to Pick and Pay and Boxers and the other large supermarkets. So that's how broad you should think of these people, because I've identified a lot of skills when I talk to them. And they will tell you, I don't know what I'm selling, because it depends on the quality of the fruits when I get to the store, to the market. So you get to see what these people know what they want, and these people, given a chance, they can produce what they want.
So we want to bua ka batho be leng hore ba rata this thing ya ba tseba hore mpempe ya lapisa motho kgonwa ke sa hae. Ke rata how di bolela ka Sepedi di beha ka Sepedi ska tshaba o tsamaelle hana mo. But let's get right into it. How does investing in women's informal businesses contribute to economic growth?
When we invest in the businesses that women are running in informal economy, we are basically investing in the economy itself, because once we contribute more to what they are selling, we are able to ensure that they grow their businesses. They'll be able to employ more people within their business, because when the demand is high, obviously they would need to make sure that they have support, which is another way of making sure that the problem that we face as a country in a matter of unemployment is being reduced. And another thing, if you have conversations with people that are selling in those markets, you get to see that the money that you are paying goes far beyond the fruits and the vegetables that you're buying or the cooked food that you're buying, because they are able to take their children to school. There are many professionals, doctors, engineers, that will stand and say, my mom works in a market. And that is the reality that we are in today. So you are not just buying the fruits today, you're also supporting the next generation. People don't complain when they go to these stores and then they go and buy 5 bananas for 30 rands. But if they go to the market and then it's 5 bananas for 10 rand, we start complaining. We must ask ourselves, where do we want to invest? Do we want to invest in our people? Do we want to contribute in terms of growing the next generation that we need? So it's up to us, because a person puts their money where there is value and meaning. And having those conversations and connecting with the people that you're buying from, hearing their stories, will create that meaning for you.
Ladies, how does economic empowerment reduce gender-based violence and financial dependency?
The National Strategic Plan for Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, NLD Pillar J6. Pillar 5, key economic power. It stipulates very firmly that if women are economically independent, they wouldn't endure much violence that they get from their intimate partners. Because we find a lot of women who are being victimized or rather abused by their partners. And that woman will say, I'm being abused on a daily basis, physically, sexually, verbally, and otherwise. But the minute I report to the SAPS this abuse that I'm experiencing, they will arrest this partner or husband of mine. And what will happen to my kids? Where will we stay? What will we eat? What will we wear? This person is the breadwinner. Therefore, I will endure and endure and endure until I don't know where Philly said. So if I have economic power, the very first clap, I will stand up for myself, because I'm not depending on this particular person. Hence, we are saying it can contribute very much to gender equality and eradication of gender-based violence. But if I'm still looking at this person for my survival, then it becomes difficult. Then you will never even report. You will just maybe hear people saying you are no more, because the violence became more intensive and even actually claimed your life while you were trying to protect this bread, protect this shelter, protect this clothing, protect the school fees and all that. So we then believe so much that economic power will make women to have a say in their lives, to have a say in relation to their bodily autonomy. So that's where it comes from. And we believe so much that the more we empower them, the more we actually even addressing other hidden issues that we don't know. They are happening behind high walls, they are happening in houses, and we always call a meeting to say, let's sit down, we have paid lobola, forgive this person, and it happens every day or every weekend. We come again for another meeting. So we believe that if I'm independent, if I have the economic power, I can pack my bags and go and start my own establishment and still be able to feed the children that I have and also take care of myself. So that's how we view it as the Commission.
How does the CGE engage with relevant stakeholders to ensure women's empowerment?
As the Commission for Gender Equality, we are a Chapter 9 institution. So that is Chapter 9 of our Constitution, where we also get our mandate that speaks about the promotion, development, and attainment of gender equality. And our work allows us to work with different stakeholders, can be government, private sector, civil society, to ensure that everything that happens in this country adheres to gender equality. So we do public education with different stakeholders, we do research, and we also ensure that on the legal side of things, when there is bills that are open for submission, we do submit looking at those in a gender sense to say, how does this affect both men and women in our country? And when it comes to economic empowerment, you might be wondering, how does CGE come in? So when we come into the informal economy, when men and women are not treated equally, then that speaks to our mandate because it speaks to gender equality. So we work in a sense of providing oversight to ensure that those duty bearers that are supposed to do the work, they are doing their work. The study that we are referring to now, the investigation that we did, it's also part of our work because it's saying what is happening in the informal sector and what can we do to influence the policies that exist to ensure that equality is achieved even in the informal economy.
Hey, yeah, women in the informal economy contribute enormously to society. Yet their struggles often go unnoticed. It's time to challenge outdated policies, demand financial inclusion, and ensure that women traders receive the recognition and support they deserve. If you want true economic empowerment, it must include all women, not just those in formal employment. Join the conversation on social media platforms using the hashtag #GenderSpace, and let's push for change together. Ladies, thank you. Until next time, goodbye.